Hi, I'm Wayne Knepp with Conservation Resources Division, and welcome to Netline. We're out at the South Seattle substation, one of the major facilities where power is brought in from our transmission lines at very high voltages and then stepped down to lower voltages by transformers for distribution to customers. The skilled men and women who work on these transformers tend to work out of sight, away from most customers and even the view of many of their fellow employees. In this edition of Netline, we're going to see just what these workers do. We'll also learn about another less publicized work group, the Industrial Conservation Team, which is helping its customers cut back huge amounts of electricity consumption. Then we'll see how you and your family can learn about some of the history of City Light while enjoying a relaxing boat ride on beautiful Diablo Lake at the Skagit Hydroelectric Project.
When people see City Light workers in action, they most often are watching line workers, electrician journeymen, and apprentices who are out in the neighborhoods, usually high above the ground, maintaining and repairing the lines that carry power to homes and businesses. What customers don't see is another important group of electrical workers who make sure there is power in those lines. Those workers are known as electrician constructors. This group is responsible for maintaining and repairing the equipment that helps distribute the power to customers. Electricity is transmitted from one of the generation sources over high-tension power lines at extremely high voltages. This power needs to be stepped down through the use of transformers, which range from large pieces of equipment located in substations on down to the small cans that sit atop power poles and make the voltages usable by household appliances. Power is routed to and from these transformers via switches and circuit breakers. Electrician constructors are the specialists who keep these important parts of the system up and running. Much of the work is preventive maintenance, keeping the equipment from failing and causing customers to lose power. Electrician constructors can be found working at one of the hydroelectric generation projects, inside the electrical shop out of the elements, or outside at a substation, working in the rain or whatever else nature has in store on any particular day. Constructors must master several skills, ranging from operation of standard tools like wrenches and hammers, to heavy lifting equipment, like cranes and lifts, to sensitive metering devices. In addition to hands-on work, the constructors may also need to apply mathematical computations and deciphering of maps and blueprints in their everyday work.
Great opportunity to do the full range of construction. You get to use your mind when it comes to electrical circuits and the scheme of things, and you have to have your head cut in because you're working with a lot of high voltage and all of surrounding you, so you really have to know where you're at, and then you get to use your hands and your body and actually physically put in electrical apparatus, and it's a great all-around construction job.
Working in a substation can be dangerous work. Voltages can range from 26,000 volts to 240,000 volts. However, electrician constructors follow a coordinated safety regime that lets them go about their work safely.
About 80% of our job is knowing how to de-energize equipment so we can work on it. We don't work on it in a high voltage state because the voltages are too high. So our main job is to figure out how to de-energize things properly so that no one gets hurt.
The work is coordinated with power dispatchers at the System Control Center, the nerve center for City Light's thousands of miles of power lines and associated equipment. While testing transformers, safety is also important, not only to the electrician constructors, but also to other personnel who may be working in the same area. This test is designed to make sure it can carry the designed load, operate safely, and will last the manufacturer's stated lifetime. These transformers are scheduled to be installed in commercial buildings. Others tested will go into substations, underground vaults, pad mounts, and on top of power poles. It's best to find a problem here rather than after one has been installed in a project. Electrician constructors are trained through a 4-year apprenticeship training program. This program not only trains but exposes the workers to the different kinds of jobs the utility has for them in the future.
As an apprentice, I get to do a lot of outside rotations as well.
It's great. It's the best job there is.
This is Scott Thompson reporting for Seattle City Light.
Starting in 1905 and for its first 7 decades, Seattle City Light met its customers' increasing demand for electricity by building new power plants. Then in the late 1970s, a new concept took hold: conservation. Instead of building more electric generating plants, City Light met some new ways by helping customers find ways to use less of its product. And as Superintendent Jorge Carrasco recently told a group of business people, then as today, that makes good business sense.
It is by far the cheapest source of energy the utility can get. It avoids very expensive investments that we would otherwise have to make. Today, 11% of our load is reflected in this conservation number.
It's estimated that if all City Light program energy savings acquired since 1977 were available today, that would power the homes of nearly 4 cities the size of Seattle. Not only is that power saved, but also money saved by customers. It's estimated that between 1977 and 2006, the combined savings on all customer bills is over $500 million. Best known conservation efforts are home weatherization and the distribution of energy-saving compact fluorescent light bulbs. But the major savings from conservation is from commercial and industrial customers. Northwestern Industries in Seattle's Inner Bay industrial area produces energy-saving windows. The company switched from making traditional windows to windows that help conserve heat within a building in winter and helps keep the building cooler in summer. This is accomplished with a reflective coating applied to produce what is called low-E glass. After the reflective coating, the company uses large amounts of electricity to heat the glass to make it stronger. This is known as tempering.
Standard tempering technology doesn't work very well with low emissivity glasses. What happens is the glass reflects the heat and becomes very difficult to heat it up and control it properly. So as that business continued to grow for us back in the early 2000 area, we were looking at the more of those specialty types of glass we sold. Our capacity kept dropping as far as what we could actually produce.
City Light found a new type of furnace built in Europe was more efficient and thus uses less electricity. The equipment was much more expensive to purchase, but it would save energy. City Light provided a grant to the company for 35% of the cost to install the new furnace. The company saw a 30% drop in energy use while doubling its production output. That wasn't the only place City Light discovered that Northwestern Industries could save electricity and money. City Light helped retrofit a new section of the plant.
This is the new section that was built in the mid-'80s. Seattle City Light helped to fund and research the amount of skylights that could go in here. It was really nice. Originally they had 400, 200 watt dual level metal halide fixtures in here. And recent lighting retrofit, we came in, we replaced the 400 watt fixtures with 4 lamp T5 fixtures. It's set up with a photocell control, so if there are certain light levels are reached, then 2 of the 4 lamps will go out. And if the light gets even brighter, then all 4 will go out. And the shop basically can run without any lighting at all in here.
Again, power saved means lower costs for both the customer and City Light. In addition, it means less air pollution from power generation and fewer tons of greenhouse gases being released into the atmosphere. In 2006 alone, City Light conservation projects reduced carbon dioxide emissions by 584,000 tons, the same amount of CO2 produced by 129,000 automobiles in a year. City Light's energy management analysts have found very specific ways to individualize conservation for customers. While heating is a big consumer of electricity for the windows manufacturer, refrigeration is the big energy consumer for another City Light customer. Trident Seafood uses freezers to keep tons of prepared fish products frozen. The seafood processor found that it was spending a lot of money because of an inefficient freezer door system.
Freezer doors in an operations like ours can waste a lot of energy unless they can open and close very quickly. The reason for that is every time these doors are open, the cold air in the freezer wants to meet this warmer, humid air out here on the dock. So the more they're closed, the more energy we save. Our forklift drivers are in and out of these doors within an 18-hour period, 5.5 days a week. So they're open constantly.
The old doors wouldn't reliably open or close. City Light helped with a study and a grant to supply new doors.
We estimate that $4,700 were saved in a year. These doors have actually improved productivity for the forklift drivers as well.
Trident Seafood also
faced with a situation, I'm going to illustrate this. When you're faced with a situation that doesn't feel comfortable for you, you don't get rational. Let me give you an example of that. Love unsuspecting people like this. I'm very close to him. I'm too close to him based on our socialization. He feels better now. And I think what happens, now let's remember when you're faced with something different and uncomfortable, which is what happens when you deal with folks that are different from you, right? You don't stop and think, well, let me not judge. Let me be open. Let me follow the golden rule. Let me listen. What is he going to do if he's standing up and I'm that close to him? What's the first thing he's going to do? He's going to back up. He's going to find his what? Comfort level. He's not, no matter what he's been trained and socialized to believe in his head, his knee-jerk reaction to discomfort is to find his comfort level. So human beings in these, quote, cross-cultural situations don't behave as they would believe they would intellectually. They behave like human beings behave. Now, if we fold something else into that, like fear and superiority, we got a whole nother dynamic getting ready to happen when I get that close to him. And so what we have to understand is what is ingrained in our being, aside from our natural tendency to avoid discomfort, together with our socialization, that one group is dangerous, is ignorant, is violent. When we collect those together, we got a mess on our hands. We have the Klan. We have the neo-Nazi movement. We have the extermination of people, okay? So we need to understand how it works in our own bodies. I'll give you an example. I gave this example to the group. I grew up, I'm almost 50, and I grew up with the notion, and those of you that are, I'm going to say 40 and above, all of us out there, yes, we're still here. Those of us that are 40 and above, when you were young, let's give you were a teenager, and let's say you were babysitting, and you had an infant, and you were going to put that infant down to sleep, how would you lay that baby down? How would you do it? What would you do? Put them on their what? Absolutely. You'd put them on their stomach. Now, this is what's interesting about when we don't have the right information, and when we're afraid, and when we're ignorant. Does anybody know why? Because you were given reasons for why you have to put that baby on the stomach. We all got them, didn't we? Now, one of the first reasons why you put the baby on the stomach instead of the back is because what would happen if the baby's on their back? They're going to choke. Something might fall in their mouth, right? Choke and gurgle, and you have all these visions of it. And then, of course, there's the cat thing. Y'all remember that? I couldn't believe that. I still can't wrap my head around the cat thing, Somehow the cat comes, smells milk. And it's interesting because people start making up stuff to make it work. They say, the cats smell the milk. They start sniffing around. They suck the breath. It defies reason. But we stayed with it. We held on to that, educated people. And then we came into an understanding that if we put the baby on their side or their back, we can reduce sudden infant death syndrome by 40 to 60%. But still, when my grandson was born, I was going, okay, all right. But it didn't feel right. It didn't feel right for me to put my grandson on his back, but my knowledge of it overruled what my internal feelings were. I was able to bypass ages, generations of ignorance. Are you following me? And it seems a simple thing. And it got to the point, I stopped folks in the mall. Turn that baby on the back. What are you thinking? No, it's one where we do progress when we have an adequate understanding and knowledge about what's going on. And this issue of race and racism, we have not had an adequate understanding of what it is. So that's why we couldn't eliminate it, because we couldn't get to it. It's a huge elephant in the room that we can't get to. But I want to talk about why we can't get to it. Why it is when people heard post-traumatic slave syndrome, there's this visceral response. Everybody, they can feel it. It's palpable. And yet you don't feel the same thing when you say Holocaust. Stay with me. We all understand what Holocaust means. We can even embrace it, except folks that ain't right. We can embrace what has happened to Jewish people. And it is important for us to embrace and understand that Holocaust because we don't want it revisited, and yet it is revisited. But we don't want it revisited. We can understand it. We can study it. We can become part. As a matter of fact, we have more data in our beings about that than probably most atrocities. And I'm not mad about that. But why is it we can't seem to get to the issue around race and slavery? Why is it we can't have that discussion? That became a curious thing for me. As a matter of fact, before we could even talk about it, folks want to shut it down. Oh, no, well, that's over. All over now. It's done, get over it. I mean, really, before we could even, I said, well, let's talk about what we're trying to get over. Have we ever had that discussion? Right, and there's a reason why, because of what it does to us, like when I was turning my grandson on his back. It does something to us. And let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's understand how this hatred somehow, like osmosis, became a part of our being. First of all, I often want to explain to people that the issue of racism is an old issue. It's not new. It's something that's been with us a long time. And I often cite this because I think it's an important place to cite it from the Bible. From Numbers 12, and Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. So God smite Miriam with leprosy in the story because she didn't like Moses' black wife. Let's be clear. That's what we're talking about, Moses' black wife. And of all the things I hear folks talk about, somehow we've never talked about Moses' black wife. We're cousins. Let's be clear. But yet it seems mysterious. It's not, this isn't vague. It's not one of those obscure hidden books somewhere buried in the desert. It's pretty straight up. But we don't talk about that. And I'm going to try to tell you now, Charlton Heston's wife wasn't black. So what we have to also recognize is what we have been fed is the misinformation, the miseducation, the avoidance, and literally took stuff out. It's not even there. It was never in the literature. You never read about it. It was never discussed. It wasn't pleasant. And so folks said, well, we can't, because it would suggest something that's too hard for us to wrap our heads around. And that's where I'm coming to, and that is the dehumanization of a whole group of people. In order for me to feel myself, and I want you to stay with me, how many people are familiar with the white man's burden? Anybody know what that burden is about? Let me read to you what the burden is about. First of all, the burden is for the superior race to civilize all the rest of the folks that, are twisted. So let me read this, and this was taken from a sociology. It's called Sociology and Modern Social Problems. This is a textbook at a university, and here is what was called the Negro problem. The problem of the Negro and of the Indian and all the other uncivilized races is essentially the same. The problem is how a relatively large mass of people inferior in culture and perhaps also inferior in nature can be adjusted relatively to the civilization of a people much their superior in culture, how the industrially inefficient natured man can be made over into the industrially efficient and civilized man. Now these are in textbooks. You understand? These are the scholars of our day, those who are hoping to enrich themselves academically. This is what they read. So it becomes this, and it's a noble burden. Are you following me? It becomes a noble burden to take care of these uncivilized, twisted little folks. We gotta make them right. And that would also suggest that I'm the one to do it. We are, by God, given this duty.
The city and for the county, I assume for the port as well, But the decline in the use of WIMBYs is dramatic. In Public Works, it is more than a 50% decline. In consulting, it is even greater than that. It's more like nearly 2/3. And at least in the city, it's not as great in purchasing, but nonetheless, there is still a decline there. What else has the city done in response to Initiative 200? As Phyllis mentioned, we've been working with our regional partners in this response. I think it's bigger than what the city itself can confront. And we've initiated a 4-pronged strategy for responding. First of all, we have adopted, at least in Seattle, an ordinance prohibiting discrimination in both public and private contracting. This is roughly comparable to what's been in place for years, prohibiting discrimination in housing and in employment. So we hope that this will make a difference. We've also adopted an ordinance requiring all city departments to affirmatively pursue WIMBY firms in all of its contracting initiatives. Unfortunately, because of I-200, we cannot give preference to these firms, but nonetheless, we want our departments to be aggressive in seeking out and informing the WIMBY community of opportunities. As Phyllis mentioned, we do have a joint business assistance program, and we have joined with the county and the port in the funding of the Central Area Motivation Programs Contractors Resources Center. The city has also funded what is called the Community Capital Development Program, and this is a nonprofit that provides loans to small businesses. And as Phyllis mentioned, we are beginning the new bonding assistance program, and I would like to commend King County in particular for taking the initiative on getting that program going. Finally, we have initiated several programs to direct more of the City of Seattle's contracting resources to local small businesses, many of which are WIMBYs. And most notable among these is the Boost program. That has been adopted recently, and we are hoping to apply that to specific city public works projects very soon. Boost was adopted by Ordinance 119602 and will provide incentives for contractors to use local small businesses as subcontractors on city public works projects. Similar to the WIMBY programs in the past, which were oriented towards small businesses, Boost focuses on subcontracting as a means of including small businesses in projects that otherwise they might be passed over for due to their relatively small size. Thus, Boost is a way for these companies to get a share of the pie. Boost assistance is limited to small businesses. For the City of Seattle, Boost is limited to small businesses located in King County, or for businesses outside of King County, small businesses outside of King County that will agree to undertake a moderate amount of training and education that we feel is essential for ensuring their viability as businesses. In addition, we have reauthorized the city's consultant roster program to focus in particular on small businesses. And in the next few weeks, we will authorize city departments to use the Port of Seattle's small public works roster, which we think will also be effective in engaging small businesses. Both of these programs will, we believe, both improve the city's abilities to engage contractors more quickly, i.e. to operate more efficiently, and we expect that a significant portion of the firms participating will be WIMBY firms. As Phyllis indicated, this is an ongoing effort. We would welcome any comments that are available here tonight or subsequently that will assist us in improving our programs. Thank you.
You caught me unawares. You were very quick. Ms. Edmondson?
Thank you. Hello, my name is Judy Edmondson. I'm Acting Contract Compliance Manager for the Port of Seattle. Our commissioners passed Resolution 3376 on February 2nd of this year to work as an equity partner with the City of Seattle and King County to develop a program to promote the use of small, economically disadvantaged businesses in competing for Port of Seattle contracting opportunities. The Boost program is being developed, which the port and its contractors to have an incentive to make use of small economically disadvantaged businesses as prime contractors, subcontractors, and suppliers on port contracts. The BOOST program shall not, however, apply to projects that are in whole or in part federally funded and which impose specific requirements for disadvantaged business enterprises. The contracting equity partners are currently accepting the Small Business Administration's definitions of small business, including gross receipts and personal net worth. This definition may change if the partners determine that the SBA definition is not satisfactory after the program has been in existence long enough for evaluation. I have not been working with the partners. Karen Primo has, who just recently left the port and was a port's representative working on the development of the program. So I'm glad that both Ken and Phyllis is here to tell you a little more in depth and answer your questions. I also brought some flyers that are in the back, green flyers on how to do business with the Port of Seattle. And they're in the back on the table with stuff. Thank you.
We are very fortunate in our community to have many experts, people who have had the opportunity to try and employ and access the WIMBY programs offered by our various governmental entities. I would like to introduce our expert panelists all together, and then I will invite them each to pose a question to our governmental representatives. First, I'd like to introduce Mr. Lewis Cooper, who is the Executive Director for Minority Suppliers Development Council. We are also very fortunate to have with us Mr. Oscar Eason, who is the President of the NAACP Seattle chapter. Mr. Eddie Rye, who is a member of the board for the Black Chamber of Commerce, National Black Chamber of Commerce. Thank you. Mr. John Barucha is the president of Barucha Developments, Inc. And Mr. Ralph Ibarra, who is the president of Marketeer Unlimited.
Marketeer Unlimited.
Marketeer Unlimited, excuse me.
Good evening, everyone.
And this is our expert panel. And Mr. Ibarra, would you like to begin?
Yes, I would, as a matter of fact. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this gathering here. I happen to be a resident of King County. However, I do circulate quite a bit within the county, and I do find myself in the city on many occasions, not only pursuing my business interests, but also being a part of various organizations. I'd like to mention that I hold a leadership position with the Northwest Minority Business Council. Lewis Cooper is my executive director. I'm the chair of the Minority Business Enterprise Input Committee, which is a group within the council that represents, thank you, that represents the MBEs, the Minority Business Enterprises. I also am very familiar with the challenges that women-owned businesses have, and I've been an advocate for over 7 years on this critical issue. My business is business development. I do that day in and day out. I make payroll, meaning my own, for the last 8 years. Now, with respect to a question, in looking over the documentation that was provided me as to the various resolutions and ordinances that have come out, this BOOST program was initiated way back in August. That was 10 months ago. And I'm hearing a lot of, well, we're developing, we're working, et cetera, et cetera. In that time frame, with respect to MWBEs, a lot of them can go out of business by the time that BOOST program is implemented. I'd like to ask, when is that program going to be implemented, and when are we actually going to see that true matchmaking, that true incentive being put in place?
That sounds like that's a question for each of the governmental entities, and I would ask that you share.
Phyllis Aline here. For King County, the ordinances have been at the county for several months. Council staff have raised some real pointed questions that are worth exploring, and we are working with them to make sure that it's adopted within the next month or so. For the rest of this month, the council staff is out, has been out of office and will not be in. But we expect that as soon as he's back, we will proceed. The questions that they ask include what's happening with our goals? Do we have goals? We need to modify our existing ordinance to drop the requirements but retain the policy statements. So those are real valid issues. They're asking that we put Boost in the context.
We are going to remain an ARC for guerrillas in captivity and maintain a viable troop that can potentially this is reaching, but it may be necessary for us to reintroduce these animals to the wild sometime in the next decade or two, if they keep disappearing at the rate they are now.
Yes, very nice.
All right.
Very pro.
All right. What else do you want? Do you want me to tell you about the crying jag the staff had?
That we don't need to get.
I represent our institution, the Woodland Park Zoological Gardens, on the SSP committee.
For gorillas.
For gorillas.
Yeah, could you do that? I mean, that's great. Can you do it?
Right.
For gorillas.
I represent our institution, the Woodland Park Zoological Gardens, on the SSP committee for gorillas.
Great.
I represent our institution, the Woodland Park Zoological Gardens, on the Species Survival Program Committee for Gorillas in the United States.
How was audio on that? Okay, great. Hey, I think we're done, basically. Just to kind of, get this labeled, can you just say who you are and what you do?
Looking at you, right?
Looking at me,
Okay.
please.
I'm Wendy Winker, and I'm the registrar at the zoo, and my job involves keeping all of the data and information on the animals in the collection.
Excellent. We'll use it.
Okay.
It was fine the first time.
Okay.
What do you think? Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Hey, can we put a Dave Town mask on you and have you do his interview too?
No, hey, wait.
Can you just say something briefly about the fact that good records are essential and why?
Essential to SSPs. Can I tie it in there or just in period?
Essential to our managing of SSP animals.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see how to start. Okay. Managing animals is a difficult task for professionals, but is even more difficult if the information they have is incomplete or inaccurate. We have to keep very accurate records and detailed records of each individual animal in order to manage the species. SSPs deal with species of animals, but the individual is important as it has a contribution to make to the species. That's terrible. Let's do that again. Okay, too verbose. Okay, I can do it.
That one gets erased.
Okay,
No problem.
erase that one. Let's see. Okay. My job involves keeping detailed records about animals, and the information that I keep is valuable in the management of animals here at our zoo and in the management of species by SSPs. The information on each animal is important because an animal has an important contribution to make to the SSP. Where the animal comes from, who owns the animal, how many offspring it's had, all are important on determining the value of the animal to the SSP.
Good. A couple of good sentences there.
Okay. Starting with good records. The identification of an animal and its origin.
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
The identification of an animal, its particular genetic contribution to the SSP is the most important thing. And in order to make sure that we do not mix up animals or that we do not breed inappropriate animals, we have to have a way of following an animal throughout its lifetime and identifying it specifically in the system for the SSP. And that's what would lead into ISIS.
Okay.
kids in the audience. Let me ask.
Say we keep detailed information on animals so that we can supply the SSP with the best information possible so they can make decisions on how to breed animals that are genetically compatible.
That was great. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
If you want to.
Did you get it?
Oh, were you taping?
Bless you.
That was
What a
wonderful.
what a wonderful
Say
man.
it one more time.
Well, that's easier said than done. I have extreme short-term memory. Okay, let's see. We keep detailed records on animals so that we can supply the information to the SSP and they can make decisions on how to best breed animals together that are genetically compatible. Okay.
Wendy, delightful.
You talk too.
And I don't, when I turn and start working, then I don't talk. I just turn and start working. Okay. Okay, let's see here. We use the computer to keep the records here at the zoo and to supply information to the SSP. Try again. We use the computer to collect and record the data here at the zoo, and we supply that data and information to the SSP. Do I have to do anything?
No, that was fine. That makes a great transition.
Go ahead and do something with your right hand.
With my right hand?
Doesn't matter what.
Doesn't matter what. Well, right here we're at a point where I don't want to mess with anything. I better get out of here then. Okay, so hang on a second. I can mess with something. Okay. Is that okay? I don't.
Okay, you don't have to keep going.
Okay.
Just backspace out of that sentence and retype it.
Okay. I mean, since it's bogus information, I get real uncomfortable with that, but okay. Not even accurate typing. It's okay.
I didn't see it.
It's good. In seconds I could show here.
I think it would be nice for you to very quickly walk us through an example of you pulling up data that
Okay.
is useful.
Okay. Up. Well, or I can just let's do this. Interesting. Why is it doing that? No, I'm just having technical difficulties here. Should be able to go to the should be automatically at the top when you bring it up, and it's not for some reason or other, but that's okay, we're almost there. There's a copious copulations on here. So, and I was just going to say, for instance, in the identification of its parents, and we have a tattoo which is on the animal that would specifically identify the animal if we were examining it. Those were just 3 straight, so.
Maybe.
No point in identifying ISIS numbers. That'll drive them nuts. They don't know what
Yes,
ISIS is anyway.
Agreed.
But stud book number, that's kind of a concept that they should be able to understand, I would think. That things like ear tags and leg bands and tattoos are used to help give the animals permanent identification, a way of identifying them permanently. Or
I'm wondering.
We're going to look at a Maine wolf record. In December of this year we had 3 Maine wolf pups born here, and I would like to show you a little bit about the information we put in on these animals. Nice try. I can't figure out, okay, like I said, I'm not up to my normal sharp self today.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Just explain what you're doing.
This is the Maine wolf record for this pup, and it was born in August of 1990 at the zoo, and we have a record on where it came from. In this case, it was born here, and so in the birth record, we would show who its parents are and where it came from, if it came from a different place. And this animal is born here, but belongs to San Antonio Zoo because the father is from the San Antonio Zoo and is being loaned to our zoo. we have numbers that we give these animals so that we can identify them in the computer and in the system. And in addition, we keep other records on the animals. And one of the records for identifying an animal is a name. And we also keep records if it's born someplace else, what its parents' numbers are at another place. And we keep records here of reproductive activity. Now, these animals are young animals, and they were recently sent to a new breeding situation. And the new breeding situation, this animal was recently sent to Denver Zoo. It hasn't been entered in the computer yet, so haven't got it in there yet. So what else do we want to talk about?
A couple real good sentences in there that I think.
Okay, go ahead and put that back.